Shocking truth, how the giant fish spit out Jonah in Nineveh what they don't want you to know. In the heart of Nineveh, where the sun beats down like an unforgiving judge, a tale so wild exists that it feels pulled from the pages of a fantastical novel rather than history. Can you imagine a fish so massive it could swallow a human whole? Legend has it that a giant fish, its scales glimmering in the light like hardened treasure, once did just that. Jonah's name is forever linked with this incredible beast. Days of darkness swallowed him whole. Despair hung like heavy fog in a ghost town. But what if the story wasn't just a parable? What if it holds secrets buried beneath the wreckage of time? Whispers among the townsfolk spoke of the great fish lurking in the churning waters. They say the fish arrived like a storm, its silhouette enormous against the horizon, the air thick with electricity. The scent of salt and fear mingled in the air, and every throat constricted at the thought. Was it watching? Waiting? Ancient scrolls described its gaping maw, lined with teeth like jagged mountains. Was it hunger that drove the beast, or something more sinister? It said the creature could catch men with a swift snap of its jaws, twisting fate as easily as we change our minds. The locals couldn't shake the feeling that something else was afoot. Strange happenings trailed after the fish like a dark shadow. People went missing. A fisherman cast his net only to pull up nothing but seaweed and a shrieking wind that seemed to warn him away. Could Jonah's tale have truth intertwined with myth? Was he the only victim of this watery giant, or just the first? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As whispers filled the air, anticipation crackled like thunder. Jonah was spat back upon the shore, a miraculous return or an ominous omen? What did the creature demand from him? And why did it choose that very moment to release him into the light, back to the world he knew? Maybe the fish was a guardian, or perhaps a curse, a keeper of secrets long forgotten. As the tide rose, so did the danger. The real question loomed larger than life itself. What awaited Jonah now, and could he face the truth of his survival? The sun hung low, its dying light cast long shadows as Jonah staggered onto the shore. He could barely recognize the rocky coast he once called home. Each wave that crashed felt like a reminder of what he endured: endless darkness, the sickening odor of decay, the suffocating void. As he collapsed to his knees, he believed he was free. Little did he know, the real battle was just about to begin. Nineveh buzzed with urgency. People crowded the streets, voices overlapping in a chaotic symphony of despair and curiosity. Some had heard the tales, others did not believe, but every pair of eyes was glued to Jonah. They anticipated answers from the man returned from the belly of the beast. He was a ghost among the living, a speck of chalk against the canvas of fear painted upon the vibrant town. Is he the chosen one? A child whispered, tugging at his mother's tunic. She stared at Jonah as if he were a phenomenon, a miracle teetering on the edge of reality. Jonah's heart pounded. It was not just the staggering fate he had experienced but the dawning realization that no one was safe. The fish had returned to the waters, lurking just beyond the periphery of the blue horizon. It wasn't just a story, but an omen. Suddenly, an elderly man broke through the crowd. His face was etched with lines that told tales of sorrow and wisdom. Jonah, his voice boomed, and chills raced down Jonah's spine. You must tell us what you know. What happened inside that creature? Around them, murmurs of unease intensified. Jonah's throat tightened. He opened his mouth, but no words emerged at first. Just the sound of crashing waves filled the silence, drowning out his thoughts. You have to understand, he finally said, his voice shaking, as he grappled with memories that clawed at him. It was like being swallowed by nightmares. Time twisted there. The darkness held secrets, things I can't even explain. He sought to meet their gazes but found them averted as if they feared the truth. What secrets? A woman implored, her eyes wide with fear. Jonah hesitated. I felt as if something was watching me. It was more than just the fish. There was a presence. The air turned brittle. The crowd's collective breath hitched, faceless fear crept closer as Jonah spoke. Something wants to be found, something deeper than the sea, and it needs me. A ripple of fear washed over the townsfolk, faces paling as whispers spread a chilling notion of being chosen. Jonah's heart raced, a drum echoing in his chest. The energy shifted like a gale at sea, he felt potentially responsible for a storm he could not control. Then came a piercing scream from the beach. All of you, run! Someone yelled. Jonah's head snapped to the water, where a shape erupted from the waves, a monstrous fin slicing through the surface. The air buzzed with urgency and dread as gasps filled the space. The ominous silhouette grew larger, and footsteps echoed as chaos ensued. It's back! Jonah stood paralyzed, panic coursing through him as men and women scrambled for safety, hearts racing faster than ever. The flip-flop of sandals against the rocky ground punctuated the horror around him. Adrenaline surged. Was this his second chance, or had he only sealed their fate? He was drawn toward the sea, inexplicably tethered to it. Was the creature seeking him out? What did it really want? As the waves crashed higher, a sinister surge of energy cloaked the shoreline. The crowd scattered like autumn leaves, leaving Jonah standing alone, feet sinking in the sand. What sacrifice would the fish demand this time? And as a monstrous tail swirled in the water, the question loomed, could he stop it, or was he merely following a path to destruction? Jonah's heart raced. Time slowed as the shadow from the ocean loomed closer. The foamy water frothed, and that unmistakable fin sliced through the surface like a knife. Panic erupted in his chest, but there was something deeper, a strange pull, as if the sea itself was calling to him. Get back! He shouted to no one in particular, but his voice was lost amidst the noise. He raised his hands, trying to regain control over the chaos. But he stood like a lighthouse in a storm, consumed by crashing fears and racing minds that whirled around him. He glanced over his shoulder at the townsfolk, their faces etched with terror. Mothers clung to their children, curling protectively around them. Men were already grabbing what they could, fleeing toward the hills. They had heard the stories everyone had, but now the fear was real, boiling in their veins like molten lava. Jonah! The elderly man shouted again, trying to reach him through the disarray. The sound of the waves thundered in his ears as Jonah turned back to the creature. The thing burst forth, revealing its monstrous size. A maw opened wide, rows of jagged teeth glimmering like sharpened ivory in the dimming light. A chill rolled down his spine. Memories of suffocating darkness flooded his mind, taking hold of his breath and tightening his throat. He was not just a spectator. This creature had chosen him, and the realization hit him like a tidal wave. No one could hear the whispers he had heard in the depths, secrets meant to be buried. It was a call, an insistent tug at his core. Something ancient roiled in those depths, something that sought to reclaim what was once lost. Jonah! The old man's voice broke through the tumult. What do we do? Then the dreadful truth struck him, the creature wasn't merely seeking revenge for being caught. It wanted him to share its secret, a burden that no one else had survived to tell. Was it possible that the legends weren't legends at all? What if the darkness weren't just shadows of ancient history? What if it pointed to something staggering and unthinkable? The water surged forward, crashing against the shore, sending sprays of salt and foam high into the air. The creature dived beneath the surface, creating ripples that spread in concentric circles of dread. Jonah took a step back, heart racing, but he couldn't move away. Something deeper, stronger than fear compelled him to stay. The crowd was mixed now with anguish and awe, frozen as they waited for the next act. You have the answers. The old man urged, desperation oozing from his voice. You're the only one who can stop this. Those words sliced through his confusion, resonating like a clarion call. He swallowed hard, narrowing his focus. "I will not let you destroy this town." He shouted into the growing darkness of the water. As if he had ignited a match in a room full of gas, the water shifted violently, creating a whirlpool that began to pull everything, including Jonah, toward its center. His feet were anchored to the ground only by sheer will, but he knew this was it. The moment of truth that he could either confront what lay beneath or be consumed by it. Would he stand against the horrors he witnessed, or would he become yet another sacrifice, a new story in Nineveh's bloody history? With one final breath, Jonah summoned every ounce of courage. "I accept your challenge," he roared, heart pounding like a war drum. But what would that acceptance mean? What deeper truths would the ocean reveal, and would he be ready to face them? And as the water churned wildly in response, Jonah prepared for an unimaginable descent, a journey that would unravel his very existence and the fabric of Nineveh itself. What dark truths awaited him beneath the surface? Jonah plunged forward, the whirlpool's pull yanking him into a terrifying embrace. The water enveloped him, dark and frigid, as if trying to steal his breath before he could even sink. His body twisted, the salty liquid swirling around him like a serpent. Panic clawed at his throat, but faith surged in his heart. He was not merely a soul lost to the depths. He was a man on a mission. Darkness closed in, consuming his senses. It was a cocoon of terror, and Jonah fought against it, propelled by instinct and purpose. The whispers grew louder, an unholy choir beckoning him. They curled around his mind, urging him to listen, to understand. Secrets of the sea, lurking in shadows deeper than he had ever imagined, danced at the edge of his consciousness. "Accept your fate." They seemed to chant, and in that moment, Jonah felt the weight of history pressing down upon him. It wasn't just the creature above, that monstrous fin slicing the water like a curse, it was the weight of generations that had come before him. Those who had never returned from the water's hunger. Then, a spark of light broke through the inkiness. Jonah's heart leapt as he struggled closer to it, every stroke pushing him to break the surface. And just as he thought he would drown in despair, he burst forth, gasping for air. The world above looked surreal, the sky an eerie shade of orange and pink juxtaposed against the gray waves rolling around him. That he foolishly thought he was free, but the creature was waiting, looming just beneath the water's edge. Panic ignited again in Jonah's chest when he realized it had circled him, a predator honing in on its prey. Those menacing eyes locked onto his, glinting with a primal intelligence that sent a chill coursing down his back. "You seek the truth, Jonah," it growled, words piercing through the salty air, echoing deep within his soul. "But are you ready for it?" He clenched his fists, forcing a surprised resolve to replace his fear. "I am ready," he shouted defiantly, though he questioned the truth of those words even as they tumbled from his lips. "Tell me. I want to know." The creature's roar shook the very water around him. "You were called forth for a reason. The tales that your ancestors feared are merely ghosts of the past. There is power and danger in understanding what lies beneath." As it spoke, the waters began to swirl around him again, drawing him away from the frantic town now far above. Shapes and shadows flickered in the depths, visions of ships lost, men consumed, and cries for mercy that echoed across the ages. Jonah felt their pain, their longing, and in that moment, their stories became his. Mothers lost their children, lovers drowned without farewell. "What will you sacrifice to unearth their truths, Jonah?" The creature intoned, each word sending a jolt through his body. "You must choose knowledge or ignorance. Can you bear the weight?" Jonah struggled, memories of his own life flashing through him. The laughter of friends, the warmth of home, the smiles of children playing on the shore. Could he really face what had been buried? The collective anguish intertwined with personal loss. The thought brought bile to his throat. That he took a deep breath, feeling the undertow of grief and fear. "I choose truth," he exclaimed, resolve hardening in his core. The creature's eyes narrowed. "Then brace yourself, for the revelations of your past may change everything you thought you knew about yourself, your town, and the darkness that flows through its veins." With those words, a riptide surged, pulling him deeper than he ever thought possible. Jonah's body twisted, and all was consumed in a whirlwind of emotions, visions, and darkness. Each heartbeat resonated in his ears as he plunged deeper into the abyss, wonder and dread swirling together. What awaited him now, beneath the impenetrable veil of water? What truths would emerge from the ancient depths to shatter his reality? Would he succeed in breaking the curse that hunted Nineveh or succumb to the eternal darkness above and below? As he descended into the unknown, one question reverberated through the darkness: could Jonah truly shoulder the weight of forbidden knowledge? Jonah felt the pressure of the ocean's grasp, the chill of its depths consuming him. He was in freefall, spiraling down into the abyss where only whispers remained. Each second stretched, like an eternity, and shadows danced around him, mocking him. As he sank, he tried to open his eyes, but the darkness held a vice grip over his vision, a swirling tempest of uncertainty clouding his thoughts, and then, abruptly, it ceased. He found himself in a liminal space, a vast chamber suspended between realms. An otherworldly glow illuminated the water, throwing silvery reflections across every surface. Shapes darted around him, ethereal beings whispering tales of woe. Jonah's heart raced. Could this be the very essence of the spirits the creature spoke of? Jonah, a voice echoed, familiar yet strange, drifting through the waters as if caught in a current. He recognized it as Mother's. "My dear boy, you have ventured far. Are you prepared to face the truth?" A heaviness settled on Jonah's chest. "I don't want to let you down. I need to know why I was called." In a flash of certainty, his surroundings morphed. He was thrust into a memory, a vision of Nineveh, thrumming like a living entity. The streets teemed with life, laughter mingling with cries of joy echoing against the battered walls. There was a sparkle in the air, but a shadow loomed just outside the light, a ripple that promised destruction. "See it?" the voice whispered. "This is your past, Jonah. Right before what they call the Great Blight, when darkness claimed the coast and swallowed the souls of many. This is where your fate began." He watched in horror as the scene twisted. The laughter turned to screams. Faces of those he knew, friends, neighbors, distorted by fear and anguish. Jonah's heart slammed against his ribs as he felt the pull of tragedy seep into him, filling his veins with dread. The vision shifted again. Flickers of an ancient ship surfaced, a spectral vessel etched in shadows. Slowly, Jonah realized it was the same vessel from the town's legends, the one that was said to have been driven mad by the ocean's wrath. Was this the source of their curse? He wanted to scream, to warn the townsfolk, but his voice was lost in the abyss. Then, the creature appeared, its eyes gleaming with an almost unnerving understanding. "This is not just the history of your town. It is your lineage. Every pain from the past flows in your blood. Can you face it?" Jonah's resolve flickered like a candle in the wind. "What do you want from me?" "I can't change the past." "Ah, but you can change its grip on your future," the creature replied steadily. "Face the pain, let it go, only then can you break the chain of suffering." Jonah fought against the tide of emotions trying to consume him. "But how? It's too much." As if sensing his hesitation, the creature's voice deepened, resonating through the water. "Who are you, Jonah? A boy lost in shadows, or the man who defies despair? Dive deeper and uncover the truth that lives within you." With a newfound strength, Jonah felt a pulse of courage surge through him. He had to dive deeper. In defiance of the agony swirling around him, he steeled himself and began to swim downwards, seeking the light that flickered at the bottom of the dark abyss, but just as he pushed through, the water exploded in chaos. A force, the whirlpool, rose up, pulling him backwards, dragging him dangerously close to the event horizon of darkness. Heart racing, Jonah gripped his mind, fighting against the tide. Would he be swallowed whole, or discover the truth hidden beneath the turmoil? As he flailed against the encroaching depths, a single thought blazed in his mind: he had to face the darkness to find the light. What shocking revelation awaited him in that final plunge? Was he truly prepared to confront not just the secrets of Nineveh, but also those buried deep within himself? Jonah felt the world around him spin in a frantic vortex. The whirlpool tightened its grip, each rotation feeling like a sinister hand pulling him deeper into the ocean's cold embrace. Panic surged through him as he clawed at the water, desperate for the surface but meeting only resistance. He had to fight, but the weight of history and pain threatened to drag him under. The pressure in his chest grew unbearable, every breath a struggle against the crushing darkness. Images flashed before him: his mother's face, twisted with worry, his father, standing with a solemn gaze, and the townsfolk of Nineveh, their eyes empty, consumed by despair. The truth that the creature had shown him gnawed at his heart. This was not merely about him, it was about a legacy of suffering. Just when he thought he might drown in his own fear, something flickered beneath the surface, an incandescent glimmer that drew him forward. His instincts kicked in. Jonah pushed himself downward, surrendering to the pull, letting the light envelop him as he spiraled into its embrace. The chamber opened, revealing a luminous underwater realm. The walls flickered like fireflies, shadows weaving through an expanse filled with whispered stories. It all felt alive. Jonah's heart thudded louder than ever, both terrified and exhilarated. "Welcome, Jonah," the ethereal beings said in a chorus, their voices harmonizing like a melody woven through time. "You have braved the depths. Now you are ready to understand." He swam cautiously toward the source of the light, and there he saw it, the spectral ship, shimmering like a mirage. It was beautiful and unnerving, both a vessel of dreams and a coffin of despair. "What is this?" Jonah asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "This is the heart of Nineveh's curse." They gestured toward the ship. "It is the fate of those who refuse to confront their truths. They wander within its confines, lost spirits, forever bound to the sorrow of the past." As he approached, something stirred within the shadows that loomed alongside the ship. Jonah saw faces, memories of his dwellings, of those lost in time, trapped in cycles of regret. It was more than just his town's suffering, it was a reflection of his own hidden fears, his own ghosts of failure. "No." Jonah shook his head, refusing to accept this vision. "I want to let this be my future." "Then you must choose," the beings urged. "To move forward, you must cast aside the heavy chains of guilt and sorrow. Face what you dread most. Only then can you alter the current of fate." The ship lurched slightly, a haunting whisper carrying through the water. Jonah could feel the sharp sting of tears in his eyes as he thought of his mother. She had sacrificed so much, yet he felt he was failing to honor her. In that moment, he understood. It wasn't just about understanding the past, it was about embracing it, learning from it, and ensuring it wouldn't govern the lives of those who would come after him. The weight of generational pain lifted slowly, replaced by a resolve that ignited deep within his core. Taking a deep breath, Jonah reached out, fingers brushing against the ship's surface, the cold metal sending a shiver down his spine. The surface rippled, and a chilling voice sprang forth. "What can you offer to break these chains?" Jonah's heart raced, knowing he had a choice to make. Dare he confront the shadows of his own lineage and unlock whatever potential lay dormant within? Or would he succumb to the darkness and accept this twisted fate as his own? "I will not run from my fears," he cried into the abyss, the words echoing as if the ocean itself acknowledged his declaration. "I will face whatever comes next." And with that, the ship began to glow brighter, the waters swirling around him vibrating with anticipation. Jonah knew the next moment would change everything. But was he truly prepared for what awaited him on the other side? As the glimmering light enveloped him, Jonah braced himself. Would he emerge transformed, or would the past rise to swallow him whole? Jonah felt a jolt, the ship's brightness intensifying as if it held a power of its own. The brilliance wrapped around him, pouring warmth into the cold waters, tugging at his fears like a parent calling a child home. Yet, the shadows danced ominously, beckoning him toward the ship's haunted corridors. Suddenly, the light dimmed. Something stirred within the depths of the vessel, shadowy figures shifting just beyond sight, whispering secrets drowned in sorrow. Jonah's heart quickened, a wild drum in his chest. He was torn, one part of him yearned to dive deeper, to uncover the mysteries of his lineage, while another part screamed to flee from the impending chaos that loomed. The voice returned, echoing through the water like thunder. Face your past, Jonah. Only then can you find peace. Jonah gritted his teeth, mind racing. There was something primal in his fear, a visceral urge to retreat. But the memory of his mother's tears, her quiet sacrifices, ignited a fire in his throat. I want to let you hold me back, he declared defiantly. With trembling hands, he pushed against the ship's cold metallic surface. It felt alive, thumping under his touch as if it were a beating heart. Shadows streamed forth like a flood of ink, clawing at his limbs, wrapping him in their cold embrace. Faces twisted by agony emerged from the darkness, each one familiar, each one carrying the weight of unresolved heartaches. Friends, relatives, and neighbors all bound to this cursed ship by their own regret. No! Jonah shouted, desperation lacing his words. You're not my chains. A wave of anger crashed through him. These were his fears, his regrets, and yet they had morphed into something monstrous. The ship rocked as if responding to his outcry, the shadows shrinking back in surprise. Jonah's heart thudded against his rib cage, fueled by a surge of determination. He was tired of running. If he wanted to break the curse, he had to confront it head-on. With a fierce resolve, he plunged deeper into the ship's grip, feeling the cold tendrils of despair seep into his skin. I know your names. I own you. You can't haunt me. His voice reverberated, shaking the dark mooring of memories surrounding him. The murmur of spirits grew louder, a cacophony of conflicted emotions echoing in his ears. You cannot escape what you have done, Jonah No. He roared, summoning the strength that came from his lineage. I will not be defined by the ghosts of the past. As if reacting to his newfound clarity, the shadows trembled and recoiled. A brief opening revealed a blinding light. Jonah could feel the weight begin to lift, and the air around him hummed with potential. Safe passage awaits, the voices chimed, calm in contrast to their previous tumult. But the choice is yours. In that deep, trembling moment, Jonah understood. To emerge from the depths, he would have to accept all of himself, the love, the pain, the history. He closed his eyes and surrender surged through him. One by one, he breathed out his fears. The names, the faces, the memories, all the burdens he had carried were released into the luminescent sea. In their place, hope began to pulse warmly in his chest. Then, he heard it, the creaking of the ship as it shifted from its anchorage. Before him, a doorway to the light appeared, beckoning him forth. Would stepping through mean embracing transformation, or was it merely another trick of the shadowy depths? With one last glance back at the darkened corridor, Jonah took a deep breath. The essence of his family, their love and their tragedies needed to be confronted. As he stepped forward, a chilling whisper echoed behind him, laced with urgency, remember, not all ghosts are malevolent, but which ones will guide you? Jonah hesitated, light dancing before him. Was this the moment that would change everything? Or would those haunting revelations come crashing down once more, dragging him into the very depths he sought to escape? The moment Jonah's foot crossed the threshold into the blinding light, the air around him shifted. It felt electric, pulsating with energy, as if the very fabric of reality were intertwined with his essence. He gasped as a wave of warmth washed over him, filling him with a sense of hope that had long eluded him. But just as quickly, everything changed. The blinding light flickered once, and the ship trembled violently. Jonah stumbled back, disoriented. The shadows crept closer, slithering like snakes eager to reclaim him. Every fear he thought he had expelled rose again, thicker and more insistent, wrapping around him tightly. Jonah! A voice shrieked from the darkness, sharp as a knife. It was his mother. Her face emerged, painted with anguish, eyes pleading. You can't go back. You don't understand the truth. His chest tightened. Mom. The word felt foreign on his tongue, heavy with lost years. What truth? What are you talking about? Your choices have consequences. She cried, the shadows swirling around her like a storm cloud. This place it thrives on regrets. If you move forward without knowing she hesitated, the shadows tightening their grip, you could unleash something dark. Something that wants you to fail. What do I have to do? Jonah shouted, desperation boiling in his veins. He needed answers. The doorway behind him pulsed with light, a promise of freedom, but it felt like a mirage fading with each heartbeat. You must confront one final memory. One that you buried deep, she urged, her voice cracking. Only then can you unshackle yourself. Only then. A bone-chilling gust swept through, pulling Jonah backwards, the ground trembling beneath him. No. He reached out, stretching his hand toward the flickering light, but it felt just out of reach. The shadowy figures moved closer, their whispers now a discordant chant of warning and threat. Jonah. A new voice pierced through the chaos, strong, resolute. It belonged to his father. Stop. You must listen to your mother. His father's presence brought a flicker of strength, yet the shadows answered with a roar, crashing forth like waves against a cliff. I can't let this be the end. Jonah yelled, adrenaline surging. He had fought so hard to break free, getting so close to claiming his destiny. Show me the truth. I'm ready. The shadows paused for a heartbeat, recoiling as if considering his words. Then, the dark forms began to shift, swirling together, unveiling a portal shaped like a door. It whispered promises of relief and understanding, yet carried the weight of something sinister. Stand firm, his mother urged, voice trembling. You can't let fear drive you. You need to face what you've done. As Jonah stepped towards the portal, a searing pain pierced his heart, a memory, raw and consuming. Images flooded his mind, laughter, family dinners, a stormy night, a choice he had made that shattered everything. Faces he loved distorted into terror, mingled with shadows whispering accusations, revealing a truth he had escaped for too long. With each passing second, the memories threatened to drag him down, deep into despair. But Jonah stood tall, pushing against the tide of anguish, fists clenched, determination sparking within. I'll take the pain. He shouted defiantly. I'll make it right. Suddenly, the shadows recoiled, as if in fear of his resolve. The portal glimmered brighter but pulsed ominously with instability. He felt his resolve shatter at the edges, torn by the weight of his regrets threatening to pull him under. His mother's voice emerged from the chaotic thrum surrounding him, softer now. You possess the courage to change. The past is ours to explain, not to own. Jonah took a deep breath, steadying himself. With a fierce intent, he launched himself towards the portal, ready to embrace the shadows within, a journey into the darkness of his own heart. What awaited him on the other side? Would he be met with forgiveness or the wrath of further forgotten truths? As he crossed the threshold, the world around him exploded into blinding light, and he felt himself unmoored. Jonah! Echoed in the recesses of his mind, a last warning that dissipated as he was consumed by the light. Then, everything went silent. What lay beyond that light? Was it salvation or ruin? Jonah's heart raced as he braced himself for whatever awaited him. Jonah's vision swirled through a kaleidoscope of brilliant hues before solidifying into a hazy landscape that was simultaneously familiar and foreign. The air was thick with a humid warmth that clung to his skin like an unwelcome blanket. Yet, amid this sensory confusion, he felt the rawness of emotions creeping back, the shadows of his past lurking just out of sight that he blinked, forcing his eyes to focus. The ground felt soft beneath his feet, cool grass brushing against his ankles. The colors around him bled into one another, a patchwork of verdant greens and dimming browns, twilight settling like a heavy fog. Where am I? He murmured, the words barely escaping his lips. Yet deep down, a whisper sparked a memory returning to his childhood home, the echo of laughter in the hallways, the thrill of summer days spent splashing in the river. Jonah stepped forward tentatively, almost instinctively seeking the source of the warmth in his chest. But as he moved, figures began to emerge through the mist, their faces obscured, shadows gathering like vultures ready to pounce. Panic clawed at his throat. No. Not now, not here. He choked out, heart slamming against his ribcage. Jonah. The voice was distant but cut through the haze sharply. It belonged to a boy, roughly his age, a friend from long ago. You have to remember. You're almost there. Jonah squinted, trying to discern the figure through shadows that shifted like sand. Remember what? He felt bitterness rising like bile. All I have are regrets. Exactly. The boy shouted, stepping closer, his features sharpening into focus. You can't escape the truth. Only by facing it can you turn regret into something meaningful. Suddenly, the surroundings morphed again, memories flooding back his best friend, Zach, the day they found that old, abandoned boat by the river. The laughter, the reckless adventure, how they dreamed of sailing the world. But it all turned darker the moment the unthinkable happened. Jonah's heart sank as he recalled the choice he made, how abruptly joy twisted into horror. Zach, he breathed, remembering the pain of loss, the guilt that had swallowed him whole. I didn't mean to then make it count. Zach interrupted, now standing boldly before him. You need to finish what you started. Don't let the shadows take that away from you. Show them you're ready to own your truth. Your choice was never just yours to carry alone, a new voice echoed from behind. Jonah spun around. It was his mother, her eyes fierce with an understanding that swam deep beneath layers of sorrow. You have the power to redefine the narrative. You can forgive yourself. An overwhelming rush swept through Jonah like a tidal wave, as memories fought for dominance, connections with his past calling for him like sirens. He braced himself, tears stinging his eyes as images of laughter and love danced before him, only to be shadowed by despair. What if it's too late? Jonah whispered, the doubt creeping back. It's never too late. They chorused. The shadows writhed, growing frantic, sensing his wavering faith. Fueled by desperation, Jonah thrust his hands towards the gathering darkness. I won't let you drown me in fear. He roared, every ounce of anguish poured into his voice, moving him forward. The figures around him coalesced into glowing forms, solidifying into a collective of support faces of friends and family. I accept my past. I will not be afraid to confront it. An energy surged within him, the shadows recoiling as if scalded by his newfound resolve. The twisted darkness dimmed, flickering like a candle in the wind, revealing a shimmering path ahead, a passage of light shimmering invitingly amidst the gloom. Step into the light, Jonah. His father hollered, pride streaking through his solemnity. Jonah hesitated, then stepped forward, the warmth enveloping him as it pulled him closer, a promise of healing. Was this his chance to reclaim what he lost? Could the light truly hold the key to mending the broken pieces of him? As he crossed the threshold, shadows lashed out one last time, vying for his soul. A cacophony of whispers drowned in his heart. And just as he felt a surge, everything around him exploded into dark chaos, leaving him kneeling, breathless, in a void where neither memory nor hope existed. What horrors awaited him here, unshackled from the weight of guilt? Would he finally embrace redemption or be devoured by the darkness he could no longer escape? Jonah knelt in the void, heart racing with uncertainty and dread. The shadows danced like wraiths around him, whispering accusations and fears only he could hear. Each anguished tone twisted like a knife, but the flicker of light from the threshold behind him remained, pulsing with promise. I can't let this be it, Jonah gasped, his breath coming in shaky bursts. I won't be the prisoner of my past any longer. The darkness writhed as though it could sense his determination. It coiled tighter around him, murmurs rising to a deafening crescendo. You are forever burdened. You cannot change what was done. No. That isn't true. Jonah shouted, pushing against the encroaching shadows. I am not defined by my mistakes. I have the power to rewrite this story. With newfound resolve, he focused inward, channeling the laughter, love, and warmth he had encountered during his journey, a reservoir of strength layered beneath the pain. Memories flooded his mind, the gentle touch of his mother's hand, the laughter of friends, the feeling of hope that still lingered on the periphery of his heart. He poured every ounce of love into the air, weaving it into a prison for the shadows that sought to suffocate him. "I choose to embrace my past," he declared, voice ringing clear and true. "I choose to forgive myself." The shadows recoiled, shrieking in a cacophony of rage. They twisted with fury, but Jonah remained steadfast, letting his light grow stronger. With every word, he felt chains breaking, a weight lifting from his chest as the shadows began to dissolve into wisps of smoke, evaporating in the radiant glow that filled the void. Emerging from the darkness, he was thrust back into the world above, a world of vibrant colors and warm sunlit shores. The familiar scent of salt filled his lungs, igniting a primal sense of belonging. Jonah stood on the shoreline of Nineveh, the waves rhythmically lapping at his feet while townsfolk gathered, their eyes wide with awe. "You did it!" the elderly man from before exclaimed, wobbling towards him, joy flooding his weathered face. "You faced the creature. You faced yourself." Jonah smiled, relief washing over him in rolling tides. "I did. It wasn't easy, but I shared my truth. I let go of the pain." The townsfolk murmured among themselves, a collective breath released as they processed the miracle unfolding before them. Jonah's eyes scanned the faces in the crowd, fear melting away to admiration, understanding replacing confusion. "Then we are free," a woman whispered, her eyes glistening. "Free from the curse. Free to create a new story." Jonah added, conviction coursing through him. "One built on love, not fear. We can share the truth of our history instead of hiding from it." The ripple of hope spread through the crowd, awakening an energy that surged against the backdrop of the crashing waves. Each person stepped closer, connecting with Jonah's words and infusing them with dreams of a brighter future. With a deep, shuddering breath, Jonah extended his arms to the sea, feeling the waves lap against his fingertips. "Let the shadows of our past become the foundations of our strength." The crowd erupted in thunderous applause, united, standing together on the shores of Nineveh. As the sun dipped below the horizon, glowing embers painted the sky in hues of orange and pink. Jonah gazed around, relief flooding through him. He was not just Jonah any longer, he was part of a community reborn, reclaiming their stories intertwined with compassion and resilience. Yet in the back of his mind, something flickered, a reminder of the darkness he had faced. "This isn't the end," he declared, looking toward the waves as they shimmered under the fading light. "We will remember, but it won't control us. Let us carry our histories with pride and pave pathways for the generations to come." And with that, Nineveh began a new chapter, a tale written not in fear but in reverence and hope for tomorrow. As the sun set, lighting their path forward, Jonah felt a peace that wrapped around him like a warm embrace. But before you leave this chapter behind, I need you to take action. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next thrilling stories coming your way. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Your support is everything. Flood the comments section with your thoughts on Jonah's journey. What did you love, and what surprised you? And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who must witness this incredible conclusion. This is the moment to show your support. Your community awaits.